Good morning, welcome. My name's Rick Allen. I'll be your captain today on flight 015. We're at the Toronto International Pearson Airport, and I'd just like to introduce you to our crew today. So we've got Peter Thompson, First Officer.
Good morning.
First Officer Francois Champagne, who's a relief pilot today, and we're waiting for First Officer Ron Valunga, who's probably caught in traffic. We're just about to start our flight planning.
As you can see, it's a fairly lengthy flight plan, 48 pages, which encompasses all the no times from the various airspaces in which we can fly.
One of these things with today's flight on the 777, it's the only aircraft in our fleet that flies polar. So we're planning a polar flight today. It's either Route 1, Route 2. We think we have up to Route 4. So it's probably just taking a look at the flight plan quickly. Are we going by Aberry or?
Yeah, Barry.
Aberry. So that's polar Route 1. So there's some real advantages to flying polar routes, and one of them obviously is shorter time. It's better for the environment, less fuel burn, so that results in less carbon emissions in the environment. Also fuel savings for the airline, which results in cheaper costs. Going over the pole, usually we have less turbulence, and some of the things that we have to consider for Transport Canada is different areas such as ETOPS alternates, communication, solar, PRAM. What else do we have on here, Peter? Space weather, HF conditions, and weather fuel. So it's a little different than normal flight planning and compared to some of the other routes. And if any of these exceedances are required, then we would take a non-polar route, which would result in longer flight plans, more fuel burn, and maybe less payload. So there's some maps if we want to take a look at just our routings.
So here's our route over there, going just a little bit south of the pole there, and into Asia from the pole all the way to Hong Kong.
Through Siberia, Mongolia.
There you go.
So there's a big picture from Toronto. There you go, Francois.
From Toronto, all the way just south of the pole on the Iceland side, and then all the way to Hong Kong. Through, Mongolia, China, and all the way to our destination.
So some of the remarks we have on the flight plan right from the beginning is that there's no slot required. Sometimes we need a slot to enter the Russian airspace. That's not required today. Space weather is nil for all levels, and our HF conditions are fair. You can see here we have the Gander Oceanic frequencies to use, and the dispatch remarks. We have a little bit of weather feel for possible CB vicinity of Hong Kong, which is kind of standard for this time of year.
Absolutely.
Operating flight plan remarks, PRAM is check completed and there was no outages. Some of the things to consider in the winter time is when the temperatures are very low, we're not allowed to fly for more than 90 minutes at a temperature of minus 65 degrees Celsius, but this time of year that's not an issue. Minimum equipment list items, we have none, so we've got a good airplane today. And planning summary. Here we go. First flight level is going to be 270. Tropes at just at 50,800. Temperature deviation +2. Wind component on the average is +14. Great circle route is 6,779, and it's 7238. There's my phone. So as a senior director, I have to take that. Excuse me.
There's our estimated en route flying time of 14 hours and 51 minutes.
Hey, Rob.
And the burn is 113.1. Basically, we're just taking a look at, the flight plan routing itself, which basically through Russia is the standard routing down to Sirna, and crossing the border from Mongolia at Polho, and right straight through China. And then down to our alternate information.
And for everybody out there, Ron Valunga. I've known Ron since first met him in 1993. We were in a furlough together, and we went to air traffic control here in Toronto. So we saw how the other side of the fence, where Ron was working on the west side, south side, and I was working terminal for ATC.
You're finally getting some good
So we lasted there until 1995. Were you there longer?
No,
95, and then we came back and.
Here, I'm Peter Thompson.
Hey, Peter.
Nice to see you.
How you doing? So.
Hi,
Okay, what we do here is we check the KO flight plan. versus our flight plan route from dispatch. So at flight level 270, it's a Luster 7 departure going to Tony, Victor 34, Yankee Echo Echo, J556, North Bay, direct YVO, direct YFM, direct 56 at 7246 west, 58 north at 7151 west, Tefo, direct Aru, direct Canal, direct 69 north, 60 west, 75 at 50, 80 at 40, and then 83 at 30, 85 at 20, direct Abery, and then Bravo 934 Adelaide, Bravo 934 to Mike X-Ray, Bravo 155 Tunner, Alpha 45 Osona, Golf 490 Cerna, Mike 520 Polho, Golf 218 TMR, Bravo 458 KR, Bravo 458 WXI, A461 to Zulu Fox, Alpha 461 to LIG, R473 Whiskey Yankee November, Whiskey 18 to November Lima Golf, Whiskey 23 to ZUH, R473 Sierra for the approach.
Activate, execute.
Done.
Beautiful.
Very good.
All right.
So you can see that's fairly long. Okay.
All right.
So there we were.
So, you happy with our fuel?
I'm happy with the fuel.
Yeah, okay, because
Yeah,
they've
this
given
is
us the
good.
1.5 for weather, which is good. Okay. So now we're into our crew alerts and our NOTAM section of the flight plan, which we'll start a review. So, software limitations, we know that one. That's fine.
See, sometimes in Toronto, we got departure of 05, we'll try and request 33 right all the time because it's going in the right direction. That'll save us 10-15 minutes of taxi time, saves us fuel. So these are things that you would sort of point out and look at when it's closed.
Yeah, so.
Just right during the time when we're doing it.
Exactly, so
So
we won't bother.
we got a long taxi
Yeah,
time.
runway 5. Okay.
Talk about the rides coming out of Toronto, maybe going north over the bay. Any complaints?
And a Hawker flight?
So that was John Humphreys. He's our dispatcher watching the flight today. And after we reviewed the flight plan, we went over the route. We checked the NOTAMs. We just finished checking the weather and looking at the map and the forecasts for some turbulence out of Toronto. So John says he's got no reports, no complaints so far. There's a jet stream over Quebec. We should be below that right now. But something's a little different today is that there's a jet over the pole. We don't normally see that. Usually there's no wind, but it should be fairly weak. So we reviewed the flight plan with all 4 crew members. If we want to come down here, the last thing we will take a look at is our polar charting map that Francois has been working on.
So basically, we've just taken a look at the weather here in Toronto just to confirm that the winds and the altimeter setting for our departure runway. So that's good. We will be using runway 5. And then we've taken a look at our arrival weather for the Hong Kong area. And it's forecast for some showers basically in the vicinity, which is normal. And we've taken a look at Shenzhen, the alternate for Hong Kong for our arrival time. And again, it's basically the same weather with some showers in the vicinity and a few CBs popping up because of the summer hot weather. Now, our alternates, our ETOP alternates, Frobisher Bay, again, a beautiful day. And long year as well. So, and Irkutsk, the weather couldn't be better for the whole duration. This is our routing. And this is the jet which Rick was just talking about, and a little bit of the weather that's in the Toronto area. And as we move to the north, there's the jet which is in the vicinity of the pole, which we don't normally get. So we might get a few little bumps when we go over the pole and through Siberia into Mongolia. A little bit of weather in the middle of Siberia, then clearing out, and then once we enter China, again we'll be crossing a couple of jets with some forecasted turbulence, various levels up to 43,000 feet, and then China. And we took a look at their wind chart, and basically the winds are as predicted on the AVPAC.
On a polar route or overseas flight, we have to plot our route since the airports are very scattered. So for to help ourselves, situational awareness to help that we plot our route on the map. So this is the polar orientation chart, and we start here in Toronto. We start to plot basically when we enter the polar area, and then we plot it all the way to until we exit that polar area, and that would be at the Mongolia border over there. What we also plot on there are what we call equal time points. So these are points where will be equal time between two contingency airport. In case anything happens and we need to divert to an airport en route, then these airports are identified, and then we know from these points which one is the closest. Our first alternate airport will be Iqaluit on Baffin Island, just north of province of Quebec. And then our second one will be what's that? Lanyard, yeah, exactly. That's part of, I believe that's Iceland territory over here. And then the last one will be Yakutsk, which is in Russia.
Nous demandons aux personnes qui voyagent avec de jeunes enfants ou qui ont besoin d'aide de se présenter maintenant à la porte 178.
Okay, so we're now on the ramp at Toronto Pearson International Airport, and we'll be doing the walk around of a Boeing 777 on its way from Toronto to Hong Kong. Let's go. So we just take a close look of everything on the aircraft, making sure that everything is in place and that nothing that should not be there is there as well. So we'll just take a look at the tire to start with, make sure everything's in place, all the linkage are where they're supposed to be, and then we'll just carry on. Here we have all kind of static ports that brings all the information about pressure to the air data computer of the aircraft. Pressurization valves over there as well, all closed, all in good condition. Antennas under the aircraft, we'll make sure they're all there, nothing's broken. Aircraft skin is in good condition. And then we'll have a look at the engine, huge engines on the 777. Actually, there's some smaller aircraft. The fuselage are smaller than the circumference of these engines on the 777. So all the blades are in good conditions. That's what we're looking for. No dents, no nothing. So now we'll have a closer look to the tires. Huge tires, everything's huge on a Boeing 777, as you can see. We'll be looking at the brake probes over here, just making sure that we still have some indication of that the brakes are still in good condition, that there's not too much wear on those. All the hydraulic connections are in good condition and in place. Tire conditions are good, no excessive wear. There we go. So we'll carry on. Have a quick inspection at the wings. Make sure there's no dent. position lights. The red on the left side, the green on the right that we'll see later, and then white at the back. You will notice there are 2 bulbs in each light, and this is for this is just as a backup. If one burns, then we have another one, and we can avoid delays by having to replace one. Other antennas under the belly of the aircraft, all in good condition. Of course, if we had any question about anything that we would suspect not to be in the proper condition, then we would give a call to maintenance to come over and investigate. But so far so good. Everything is where it should be, in the condition it should be. At the tip of the wings and the stabilizer on the tail, you will see some what we call static wicks. Therefore, to avoid the static interference on the radios, and that's one of the things that we check on the walk around, make sure they're all in place. So we'll do the exact same thing that we did on the other side of the aircraft. On this side, check the tires, engine, and the wing, and then we'll be done with the walk around. So this is it. We've done the walk around of the Boeing 777 prior its flight to Hong Kong. We're going back into Kerry with our regular duties in the flight deck.
Delivery Air Canada 015 at 177. We have information Delta and a PDC 393 Papa.
Canada 015, all correct, and 2207 for push, good day.
2207 will be a noise 1 for Air Canada 015.
015, vertical profile 1, roger.
Okay, just planes. All our pre-flight checks are done. Doors are closed. Our ground crew has just advised it's time to go. 4 minutes to our scheduled departure time. Once again, Air Canada on-time performance is looking good. So sit back and enjoy the rest of the flight. Thank you. Okay, we just received our revised load. So what we do now here is we check. We got the right flight number 0015 of the 8th, Toronto to Hong Kong. That's cross-checked there. We got the right fin, 702. And here's our breakdown. J class 42 people, in the economy class 228. Operational flight plan number 1. And load number 3, and no tag at no nil, which is just for hazardous goods. So our total passenger breakdown, 245 people with 3 infants, and in the zones, 24, 109, 112. Fuel on board cross checks. Takeoff fuel is good. 0 fuel weight, 2029, so we're down a bit. Takeoff weight, 326,000 kilos, so that's 3,000 less than we planned, still within the limits for departure figures. Takeoff weight MEC is 26.8, and everything else checks. Down at the bottom here, nothing there, Ron? Nope. Flight deck, we have 4. End of part 2.2. Very good.
Air Canada 015, pushback 177.
Air Canada 015, good day. Push tail to the east and advise your crew you're going to exit Delta, Quebec.
Tail to the east, and we'll plan on Delta Quebec, Air Canada 015.
Okay, flight deck ground okay for brake release?
Flight to release the brakes.
Okay, brakes off, ready for pushback, tail to the east, and we're departing Delta Quebec.
All right, tail to the east, out of Delta Quebec, and you are clear to start 1 engine on the start, on the push.
Okay, check. We'll be starting the right engine on the push.
61 with Delta.
Test.
21-3 for clearance. Sorry.
If I use the center intercom, does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to use that one then when I'm
Air
talking.
Canada 606, 21-9 for ground. Canada 606.
Okay, Ron, start the right engine, please.
Start the right. Okay, I'm looking for the oil pressure, which we have, and the right fuel control switch is coming on. So now we monitor the engine instruments. 2 is coming up. And 1 is pulling. Fuel full.
Confirm brake set.
Brake set, confirm when pins are moved.
Bypass pins are removed.
Roger, check the pins, remove, right hand signals. Thanks for the push, have a great day.
Take care, safe flight.
Okay, we checked parameters on engine number 1, they're stable. Start the left, please. Left.
Good morning, Apron, NovaJet 21 at Sky Service.
Again, starters
Ready to
on,
taxi,
looking for oil
Delta.
pressure.
NovaJet 21, good day, hold short of Echo Alpha.
Hold short Echo Alpha, NovaJet 21, thanks.
There's 1. Master's going up. We have a light on the left. There's a ground crew. Tug is away. We got the wave off. And they're off to the coffee shop.
Apron, Air Canada 015, taxi.
Air Canada 015, hold short of Delta Quebec and contact ground now 21-9, good day.
Short of Delta Quebec and 21-9, Air Canada 015.
So Delta Quebec's just off our left. There's an aircraft, looks like an RJ, pointing at us.
It's clear on the right.
And clear on the left, thank you. Taxi lights on.
Ground Canada 015, heavy short of Delta Quebec.
Canada 015 Heavy, Toronto ground, runway 058 is Echo, altimeter 3009. I'm the RJ, taxi by Delta, cross runway 33 right, hold short of Echo.
Delta cross 33 right, short of Echo, Air Canada 015, behind RJ.
Okay, copy that.
Ground control inspection 26. 10606, monitor tower 118.35. 606.
Right, ground, Comair 3133, Alpha short takeoff.
Comair 3133, ground, short of Alpha Kilo there, continue up to Tango, 15 left, hold short Delta.
And it's clear on the right.
Great, Alpha, say again.
And Comair 3133, continue along Alpha and then right turn Tango, and taxi onto runway 15 left, hold short Delta.
Alpha Tango 15 left, short of Delta, Comair 3133.
Is it the same thing? No.
Line up 05 or down 015?
Left, press search engines.
Transponder is TARA before takeoff is complete.
Get the word. Let's do 7. 057 miles, left turn 347, on the fine, speed 65, 68, 7.
0106 knots, clear takeoff runway 5.
Clear takeoff 5, Air Canada 015.
Okay, line up on weight, 05, Air Canada 1.
Thrust reference. Roger. For 99.9. $80, hold. Roger. Rotate. Positive rate. Europe. Hell no. Thruster up, green half speed. Autopilot on.
And 015, heavy departure.
Autopilot.
7.57.
2757, Air Canada 015.
Canada 015, left heading 010.
Left heading 010, Air Canada 015.
010, heading selected, looking for 3,600 feet through the noise abatement. Aircraft's accelerating. Looking for the flap speed, flaps 5, please. Flaps 5. We can see the aircraft's rolling out. Here's the heading button on 010. Looking for the flap speed. Once we're past that, I'll call flaps 1. Flaps 1.
Air Canada 015, climb out of level 230.
In Canada, we're restricted 250 knots, below 10,000 feet, and we'll see once we get to that speed, we can go. Because of the weight of the aircraft, we're allowed to fly a speed, plane speed of, well, looks like about 254, 255, which is approved by Transport Canada.
Maintain 230, Air Canada 105. Air Canada 015, heavy direct to Midland on course.
Direct to Midland on course, Air Canada 015.
Okay, so I'm going to select Midland to the top, execute. Confirm, execute. And LNAV's available. Up here, lateral nav is selected, which I say LNAV is confirmed. We expand our map, 80-mile range, and we can see Midland, Yankee Echo Echo.
Canada 015, contact Toronto 132.57, so on.
132.57, Air Canada 015 today. Toronto Air Canada 015 heavy, leaving 9,000 for 230 direct Midland.
Canada 015, flying flight level 270.
Okay, we're at a 10,000 for flight level 270. You can see now we're going to accelerate to our climb speed, 320 knots.
It's kind of tricky working both mics.
Air Canada 015, after Midland, clear direct Val-d'Or on course.
After Midland, direct Val-d'Or on course, Air Canada 015.
Air Canada 61, contact Toronto now, 124.37.
12437, and before we go, still it's actually smooth between 22 and right now for Canada 261.
All right, thank you.
On.
Air Canada 015, I've got 270 as a final for you to start, is that correct?
That's Toronto Air Canada 015. Toronto, sorry, Air Canada 015, we'd like 290. That's final.
Okay, I checked that.
So what we have here is on the Boeing electronic flight bag, we have our chart clip. So for Toronto, we can preview down in the bottom portion here. You can see the different phases of flight. There's actually a pictorial that'll show what it is. So right here we have the the airport area. We have departure, we have information, we have arrival, and then we have approach, or we have all, which we can select. So normally what we do is that we'll pick the charts after reviewing them on which ones might apply for the departure that we're having. So you can see on this one, for Toronto for our departure, we can preview an airport. And I'll just, with the electronic flight bag, we can either have a day mode, which we're in, or a night mode for evening, which is the black background, the opposite. And here's a picture of the airport diagram in Toronto. So what on here, it displays the different frequencies that are used from ATIS, a ground control, APR control, tower, and departure frequencies. It also has runway lengths. I'm going to have to expand it so I can read it. It's also a touch screen, which we can scroll down. It has all sorts of information displayed here. So today's departure for Flight 015, we departed from Terminal 1, which is this building here. There's a Terminal 3 over here. There's a center terminal, which they don't use anymore. We departed from Gate 177, which when I can expand, was basically in this quadrant. Stand by, I want to get back a page. So other pages that we can review, airport information, takeoff minimums, which are all listed here. We also have charts in our book which explain this. It's a lousy page. Apron procedures, parking, gates, 109B. We can have a review here. So as we expand in, we can see Terminal 1, the apron area. We started in a building, in a room over here for our flight planning, ended up walking along the terminal, through security, down the long corridor to Gate 177. As you can see in a relationship to the airport. Positions. We also have parking positions, either commuter parking in the infield, coordinates if it's required for loading your GPS system up. We have low visibility taxi charts, which on today weren't required. We have the second page, we have de-icing, guidance, signboards, and a standard taxi route. So today the weather was quite good. So today's departure, if you can look at this map here, we departed Gate 177. We pushed back. We departed Delta, Quebec, which is that exit there. Taxi along Delta. We crossed runway 33 right, which what we discussed earlier is the longest runway, which we would have preferred for takeoff, but it was closed due to a NOTAM. Once we cleared the runway, we went across Delta. We came along Mike 3, and then air traffic control gave us a taxi down runway 33 left, which we then went to hotel, and we departed out of 05 towards the northeast. So I'm going to expand a little closer. You can take a look to see what it is. So this chart is used and has all the different taxiways orientations. It has preferred routes on it also. If I go to another chart, here's a standard taxi route chart for Route 6. And we didn't use this one today, but it would be guidance when you're going from an area following along. So you can see this route would take us from this area following the arrows. This is what you can anticipate for a departure off 6 left. Jefferson has these charts, but air traffic control in Toronto doesn't use them very often. Okay, let's go back to the chart clip. So we can review departures. So in Toronto, there's 5 different SID, standard instrument departure charts. That was a test. And you can see in Toronto we have the Avro 5, the Douglas 3, the Luster 7, and you can see it's checked green because that's the one we departed and that's the one we use. the Pearson 9 and the Windy one. So I'll select the Leicester 7 departure. Sorry, we'll preview it. And there you can see the chart. So on this chart, which is used for almost all departures that we have, it's produced by Jeppesen. And in the top right corner, you see Toronto. It's called a SID chart. And what we review is expiry dates, or sorry, effective dates, what the chart number is. It's cross-checked with the pilot not flying and the dates. So you can see in here, here's the ident for the airport. Here's your Toronto departure frequencies, 28.8, 2757. If they're doing a dual departure, they'll have 2 departure frequencies sometimes. Airport elevation, any other notes, which you can read here, that are required. Transition levels, transition altitudes, safe altitudes within 100 nautical miles of the airport, any cautionary notes, and then any other additional requirements, which here it says refer to noise abatement procedures for additional requirements. The name of the chart, the Leicester 7 departure, and in parentheses here, it has a short form, which would be in the database for when we're loading it in for cross-reference. In big bold letters here, this is a requirement for Transport Canada, the maximum speed of 250 knots for all aircraft below 10,000 feet. For noise abatement, there's another little chart here, turbojet or fan aircraft only, runway, all runways, and if it was just applicable to certain ones, it would have the numbers either 05 or 23 or 6 left. But for all runways in Toronto, noise abatement departure procedure, either 1 or 2, and today we did 1. Down here you'll also see noise abatement aircraft assigned to turn at takeoff, commence to turn at 1100 feet. So we departed 05, which is right down here. And if you follow the runway, you can see the pictorial says 075 heading, then at or above 1,000, it'll be left 047 heading off to a certain altitude or point. We scroll up. On all these pages, there's usually a communication procedure, or sorry, a communication failure procedure. And what it says here, on recognition of a failure 20 minutes or less after takeoff and in IFR weather conditions, proceed as follows. And it'll have the instructions. Standard ICAO transponder mode 7600. And then if you were beyond Toronto, 10 DME, proceed directly on course. Or if not, do not climb above last assigned altitude for 5 minutes after recognition of failure, then climb to the flight plan altitude. So, the instructions for the pilots, depending on what runway, today we departed 05, it'll have the instructions on your initial climb what to do. So the briefing I gave today was, for runway 05, unless otherwise assigned by air traffic control, climb heading 057 degrees at 1,000 feet, turn left heading 047, or assigned heading for vectors to assigned route. The altitude, unless otherwise assigned by ATC, jet aircraft maintain 5,000 feet. There's also a note in the bottom for non-jet aircraft, something like a Dash 8 or propeller aircraft, maintain 3,000 feet. So we briefed that. Now we will go on to the noise abatement chart. That will be found under information, which was in the next block. You can see in Toronto there's 3 charts, one for NOTAMs, long term, the noise abatement, and then noise abatement continued. So reviewing the noise abatement chart, for the Jeppesen, basically it's in the same style, daylight standard. In Toronto it says nose operating restrictions and noise abatement procedures apply at Toronto Pearson International Airport to all IFR and VFR aircraft unless otherwise specified. It then displays the restrictions, the different types of aircraft, whether there's non-noise certified, ICAO Annex 16, which volumes, all other aircraft. So here are the restrictions for times, local, arrival and departures. All aircraft between 2000 and 8 in the morning, between midnight and 7, between midnight 30 and 0630, and midnight 30 and 0630. And then it has a whole list of other restrictions. At Air Canada, we have certain flights that are approved to land in the, what we can call here the noise abatement hours, the silent hours. And those are what we could refer to as red-eye flights, usually coming in from the west coast of California, Vancouver, or Alberta, heading to Edmonton, or sorry, heading to Toronto and landing earlier than 0630. We also have some flights from South America that come in that are allowed to land around 5:45 in the morning. So requests can be made to the senior manager in Toronto of the airport facility for the GTAA. Dun, dun, dun. So page 3 of the program, expanding it, talks about preferential runways for ATC during the silent hours, midnight to 0630, arrivals and departure, when engine run-ups can be done, training flights. So after all that information has been read and understood, we can get down to general procedures for noise abatement. And the first point, they talk about reverse thrust. And this is pretty standard in a lot of international airports that are close to neighborhoods. It'll say reverse thrust, consistent with safety of operations and in consideration of high intensity runway operations, pilots should minimize the use of reverse thrust. So as an SOP or standing operating procedure in Toronto, the recommendation is to use braking and idle reverse. And we try and plan that unless operationally required. So today we planned a NADP 1 departure, which we advised clearance delivery. We advised clearance delivery that we were doing NADP 1. So you can see on the chart here it says NADP 1 or 2 is required for all runways. See the other charts. Said routing should be followed to 3,600 feet for runways 33 left and 33 right. No unauthorized turns prior to Malton. SID cancellation does not terminate noise abatement procedures. Early turn on runway 05, which we use, applies only to the following jet aircraft types, and it lists. For arrivals in Toronto, the noise abatement procedures are consistent with safety. Crew shall minimize approach noise. To do this, it says, for all approaches, including visuals, maintain 3,000 feet above sea level or until intercepting the extended runway center line, and intercept the extended runway center line at or outside the final approach fix, then remain on or above the glide slope or assume 3-degree glide slope. There we go, and then we just have some other departure times for that. So that's noise abatement. On the first chart, here are the long-term NOTAMs that Jeppesen will have. You'll see an effective date, an end date, and it says all GPS approach procedure titles change to GNSS, NOTAM 2. Runway 23, threshold display 685 feet, and threshold distance 10 feet. ILS runway 23, touchdown height 45 feet. So the short-term NOTAMs, which we found on the flight plan. Okay, the time we have now is 15:32 UTC time, which is exactly 90 minutes past what time we pushed. We pushed at 14:02, and we were airborne at 14:22. So an hour 10 minutes into the flight. You can see from the map here, here's approximately Toronto on Lake Ontario, and we presently headed almost straight north. And we're just into Quebec here. We're at about 51 degrees, coming up to about 75 degrees. And then our route from here, we're going to be entering the ETOPS airspace in approximately half an hour, 45 minutes. And heading towards Iqaluit, formerly called Frobisher Bay, up over Baffin Island, up towards Greenland, and up towards the North Pole, which is just over on the other side.
Sorry to interrupt. No problem. Which lake is this?
Hudson. Or Baffin.
Sorry. This is just a trick question to make sure we're not lost.
Okay, we're 3 hours into the flight plan, and we just have Frobisher Bay, Iqaluit, off our port wing, about 80 miles. And you can see the position on the map. there is the airport right there. And what Ron is doing is requesting our Oceanic clearance via our flight information page. And you can see how it's displayed. Flight number ACA, Air Canada Airlines 015, and ATC facility, Bird. Entry point is Canal, which is on the flight plan. We've requested flight level 310. Here's our estimated time of arrival for that point, and we're requesting Mach 0.83. So Ron has sent that out, and at Air Canada, SOP, we have a book called the QRH Normal Procedures, Quick Reference Handbook, Normal. And one of the pages in there talks about Oceanic or ETOPS procedures, and just a guide that we can use to make sure everything is covered. So you can see in here, pilot flying, we'll verify the clearance once it comes. We just received a message from them that said that clearance received, clearance on request, and if we don't hear from them in 15 minutes, we revert to voice procedures. So, pilot not flying, Ron, he's requested that clearance, and then we're going to check the clearance when we have it, and then we follow the rest of the points here. We're checking the weather, checking the ETOPS alternate or on appropriate FMS pages. We'll do a HF assignment, which we should get, cell call checks, ensure the cleared Mach is in the FMS, and then CBD, LC, or ADS communication procedures as per the QRH later on in the flight. And then make sure the ETOPS systems are operational. If we get a reclearance, we have a guide here on what to do. And SLOP, which we use mostly over the Atlantic. And then procedures as we're doing waypoint passages and what we do. So I can talk about that now, is that once we're about 2 to 3 minutes from each waypoint, when we're in the ETOPS area, we'll confirm the FMS present position, we'll confirm the next waypoint, we cross-check the track and distance, and then we confirm the subsequent waypoint. Same thing over on the other side. Once we have the passage, we'll check altimeters, our altitude, our Mach that has been assigned, and confirm the method of FMS update. We'll record those points on the operational flight plan, and on the polar routes, usually in the wintertime, we'll check the temperature, make sure that's okay. Then after the waypoint, we confirm the next waypoint, and the aircraft does take the track and distance on the ND. And then 10 to 15 minutes or 2 to 3 degrees after the waypoint, we do the plot position. So we're checking for G&Es, which stand for gross navigational errors. And even with today's technology, it does happen because it's all about inputs, a little finger problem. So that's why we cross-check it manually. There's Oceanic exit procedures, and once we clear on what we have to do then. So on the next page, we have what's called ETOPS entry requirements. And so this is a guide just basically to make sure that this checklist is used. Once we're airborne, determine if the flight may cross into that area. And if there's any obvious abnormal conditions, we refer to this. And here it says the following conditions are minimum for crossing into the ETOPS areas. And as an example, both main electrical power buses must be powered and by separate sources. All 3 hydraulic systems pressurized, operating normally. We have sufficient engine and wing anti-ice protection to deal with the existing or forecast conditions for the ETOPS and diversion portion of the flight. We have sufficient cockpit displays to fly safely in the area, communications, autopilot capabilities, and navigation capabilities. So basically everything is in working condition. If not, there are requirements that we may not be able to enter the ETOPS, and there are other checklists to refer to that. So that's about it for now.
So we're approaching the market. This is Sunday we are taking off. So we need to work both. And then taxi doesn't ask us to taxi somebody position. You can't live off that. Absolutely sure can. Cockpit and Sullivan, we're moving the first of it. You know, there's probably someplace in the Yukon. But, there's so much, but there's so much
Okay, just an update on our progress. We've just passed Aqualowitz, and right now we can see on our position ref page, our FNC GPS is showing we're at almost 65 degrees north by 64.5 west. So on the map, you can see here 65 and 65. So we're just over this little island here. I'm not too sure what it's called. Coming into Baffin Bay, heading up towards Greenland. Weather right here looks very nice. Beautiful scenery off to our west at 31,000 feet.
Air Canada 015, contact Edmonton Center 11355
35.5 Air Canada 015.
Turkish 17, contact Moya Center on 11904.
Berlin 7430, loud and clear. Thank you. Next contact at 90 west of Edmonton 13502.
90 west 3502, 7430.
Roger at 90 west.
Edmonton Lower Canada 015, heavy flight level 310.
Air Canada 015, heavy Edmonton Center, good day, loud and clear. Surveillance service is terminated. You can log into ADF Charlie Zulu Echo Golf.
Okay, we'll log in Air Canada 015. Okay, we checked VHF 12785 and we just received our clearance via data link from Iceland Air Canada 015.
Canada 015, thanks, and 12785 at Canal. Have a good day.
Okay, we just finished talking to Edmonton Center, and radar service is now terminated, and we have logged on to ADS. We just received our clearance from Reykjavik, that is Bird, and there is our Oceanic clearance. Here's the time at 17:22Z. Here's today's date. Clearance number, Air Canada 015 is cleared to Hong Kong via Canal, random route, and we're going to check this. So I'll read it, Ron can cross-check it. 69 north, 60 west, 75 north, 50 west, 80 north, 40 west, 83 north, 30 west, 85 north, 20 west, Abery, Bravo 934 Binta, from Canal, 1744, maintain flight level 310, Mach 83, and a message. So it's cross-checked, we're accepting it, and off it goes.
Okay, so we got our CPDLC link with Iceland, and we just switched to true heading because we left the southern control area. Now we're into Iceland's airspace, and switching to true in the northern latitudes because the magnetic variation changes so fast that headings become unreliable as you get closer to the magnetic North Pole. So now we're in true heading.
Air Canada 015 Iceland radio. Can you go ahead with your position report, please?
Okay, we are CPDLC and we were 69er north, 060 west at 1750, flight level 310, estimating 75 north, 050 west, 1836, next 080 north, or 80 north, 040 west.
Air Canada 015 Iceland radio 69 north, 60 west at 1750, flight level 310, 75 north, 50 west, 1836. Next 80 north 40 west and report 50, you can check in at 50 west on 88901 to see if your position report has turned up, and then You are CPDLC and your exit, confirm your exit point. What is your exit point from the Reykjavik control area?
Iberi for Canada 015.
Okay, Iberi, overhead, Iberi, contact Murmansk on HF 8950, secondary 11390.
Iberi Murmansk 8950, secondary 11390, or Canada 015.
So that was Iceland that called, and you could see on the screen here is that this was an automated message to confirm CBDLC contact with Reykjavik Center. So I hit accepted, and that was it at 17:52. So we can't send a message. We also had a cell call. They came up. Okay, request position report. You see that just came up, Ron? And we were talking to them on HF, and they were asking what our exit point was. So you can see on this line here where we're coming into the Russian FIR airspace right here at this point. You can't see it because of the thing called Iberi. And you can see there's the North Pole right here. So our routing position coming along that track. So we're just coming over, coming up to Greenland in a while. So we're in Baffin Bay. There's the odd iceberg, not too many this time of year out there.
Next fuel 57.0. Report 57 west on this frequency, backup HF is 8891, secondary 4.
Okay, the 8891 primary 4605 at the moment, and Barry will be 8950 primary and 11390 secondary, Cathay 841. 4690, Standby Cathay 841.
5 west, 1
Speedbird 287, go ahead.
Speedbird 287, firm, check Menta 1816, flight level 350, estimating 71 north, 80 west at 1846, and 69 north, 90 west next. Temperature minus 41, wind 348, diagonal east.
Speedbird 287, Roger, Mesa 1816, Mexico 350, 71 north, 080 west.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Peter and Francois. We've done a crew change. As you're well aware, the duration, our duty day for the flight is well over 16 hours. So we take 4-hour break, 4 hours on and 4 hours off. So it's our turn to fly the aircraft for 4 hours. So we've just arrived, and prior to passing 75 degrees north, our dispatch will send us any updates that are required, whether there be a change in some HF frequencies or space weather, and en route alternate information will be sent to us. So we just pulled it up, here we go. So it's the polar in-flight update. The fuel freeze information is not required, or the fuel freeze temperature, if known, is not applicable. So solar weather updates, none, or expected levels. Space weather is nil, and there's no HF issues, and there's no additional information to add. So we're just going to continue on. There'll be no, with our original flight plan. Now, we just passed by 75 degrees north, and Iceland Radio wanted a call via HF just to confirm that they did get our CPDLC position report. So we're going to give them a call now And not only that, we've passing 75 north, we've gone into a different zone. So we've got our Greenland escape route chart out, and we noticed that we're in zone 1, and Francois and I were just discussing this. If there was a rapid depressurization or an emergency, we would consult the chart, and zone 1 says to make a left-hand turn at 270 degrees and head to Thule. And I believe right now our alternate for this portion of the flight is still Frobisher Bay. Okay, so I'll give them a call on the HF. Iceland Radio, good afternoon, Air Canada 015. Yes, sir, we'd just like to confirm that you've got our CPDLC position report by 75 degrees north, over. Okay, you're barely readable, Iceland, but from Air Canada 015, we checked you didn't get our ADS position report. What I'll do is I'll give it to you right now. Are you ready to copy? Roger, roger. Air Canada 015 is by 75 north, 050 west at 1836. Flight and we're estimating 80 degrees north, 040 degrees west at 19er. Next is 83 north, 030 degrees west. Position fuel 82.9.
7545 level 310, 80 north 40 west, 1914, 83 north 30 west is max, fuel 82.9. Come up on frequency 11279. I think it's frequency 11279 now.
Roger, roger, Air Canada 015, switching to 11279er. Iceland Radio, it's Air Canada 015. How do you read?
Air Canada 015, Iceland Radio. Read you final airspace frequency. How do you read me?
Roger, roger, read you 4x5.
Okay, here is okay.
And cell call check's okay for Air Canada 015, and we just want to confirm you did not get our ADS position report.
Okay, so I did not receive your ADS report.
Okay, roger, we'll call you at 80 degrees north, Air Canada 015.
Now we're going to discuss escape routes, and this is on certain routes where the terrain is higher than other areas, where the terrain is higher than the altitude at which we can fly safely without being pressurized. We need escape routes to get out of these terrain of high altitude and get into terrain which we can fly lower at altitude where the cabin doesn't have to be pressurized. So for the matter of this flight, we're flying over Greenland, and we're going through this area over here. So the lowest altitude we can fly in this area is 13,000 feet through zone 1. So we'll refer, and the escape route is shown on the upper right of the map there. So what happens if we have a rapid depressurization and we have to go down? If we follow the procedure, while we're in that zone, we'll descend to 13,000 feet, and then we'll head west to get out of this zone, and then we'll go to our alternate airport, which in this case is Iqaluit, which is on Baffin Island down here. So we would get out of the zone and then go to our alternate airport or any other suitable airport that would be available at that time.
We just sent our position report to Iceland Radio via the CPDLC, and since we've been having a little bit of communication problem with him, we're going to call just to confirm that we got it on HF, and if need be, we'll give it to him again on HF. So I'm just going to give him a minute. Okay.
Okay, we've just received the clearance from Iceland Radio to climb to and maintain flight level 330, so that's what we're going to do right now. We'll set the altitude to 330 and then reset our cruising altitude to 330 and the aircraft will climb there. Once we're there, we'll send another message to Iceland Radio to confirm that we're level at that cleared altitude.
And what we'll do is we can send it via CPDLC. We'll arm it. Now it's armed and it'll automatically send a message to Iceland when we're level at 330.
Speed VNAV.
Roger. I said minus 60, it's minus 65 for 90 minutes.
The most northerly fjord of Greenland. We can see the north shore of the fjord through the clouds down there. And if we refer to the map, it would be that fjord right over here, where the waypoint Turno is depicted.
So one more time with feeling, we're approaching 83 or 30.
Yeah, okay.
Iceland Radio, it's Air Canada 015 position. Air Canada 015.
Air Canada 015, Iceland Radio. And 70 knots, 50 West report, latest 80 knots report, not come through.
Okay, just confirm you did not get our position report at 80 degrees north?
Did not receive the report.
Okay, Roger, here it is. We were 80 degrees north, 040 degrees west at 1914. And flight level 330, and position fuel is 77.9. And position 83 north is 030 degrees west at 1938. Flight level 330, and we are estimating 85 north is 020 west 1954. Next, a Barry. Fuel 74.6, over.
80 north 40 west 1914, level 330, 83 north 30 west 1938, 85 north 60 west 1934. Say again, estimate the time for 20 west.
Roger, we're estimating 85 north 020 west at time 1954.
1954, a Barry is next. Let's report on base frequency.
Roger, Roger, we'll call you on this frequency at 85 degrees north, Air Canada 015.
We're just about to give our position report. Now, this will be the last position report we give with Iceland Radio. Our next position report will be at Barry, and we'll be talking to Murmansk, and this is where we'll be entering Russian airspace. And our altitude will change. We'll be switching from feet to meters. And we have a chart here for conversion. And we also have meters depicted above our altitude in feet. So we'll go ahead here.
Iceland Radio, it's Air Canada 015. Iceland Radio, Air Canada 015. Roger, Air Canada 015 is by 85 north 020 west at 1954, flight level 330, estimating a Barry time 2021. Ravul is next, fuel is 72.5, over.
Delta the 015 by 385 west 195, 1 over America, the Burma, primary 850,
Okay, can you say the frequencies again for Air Canada 015 from Murmansk? Go ahead.
015, primary for Burma is 8950, secondary is 11390.
Okay, Air Canada 015, we check a primary 8950 and secondary 11390, over.
Air Canada 015, Iceland Radio, that's it, sir.
Roger, Roger, thank you very much, have a nice day.
Iceland Radio.
Okay, now there's a Barry, which is our next waypoint, which, as I mentioned, will be entering Russian airspace. And we've built a waypoint in our fixed page which depicts the location of the North Pole. And if we review our polar operations in our FOM, it talks about overflying the North Pole, that flight crews must exercise caution when flying directly over the North Pole due to the possibility of aggressive autopilot maneuvers when the heading changes from north to south. Now, we're not flying directly over the North Pole, so the heading change will be actually very gradual as we approach Barry and continue further to the south.
We're now 150 nautical miles south of the North Pole on the Atlantic
side of the pole, and as you can see up here, so much of nothing. But we're lucky enough though to see down to the ground, or the ice, however we may call it, and we can see how it can be fragmented up here, and just a little bit through the cloud layers. It's usually pretty covered up here, but today we're lucky enough to be able to see down there.
And I believe it's all open, a little bit of open water in between the ice flows.
Control, go ahead.
Roger, Roger. Air Canada 015 is by Abiri at 2021, flight level 330. Estimating Ravul 2055. Modem is next. And our position fuel 68.9er. And Air Canada 015 is requesting 10,100 meters.
015, climb and maintain flight level 1,100 meters. Next position report, motor.
Roger, Air Canada 015 is clear to climb and maintain 10,100 meters. Next report, motum.
And for the cell call from Air Canada 015 Delta Kilo Golf.
Air Canada 015, cell call check. Delta Kilo Golf Mike. Negative full call and try again. Delta, Kilo, Golf, Mike.
And from Air Canada 015, it's Delta Kilo, Golf, Mike, over.
Air Canada 015, Delta, Kilo, Golf, Mike, and try again, circle check.
Negative Salva, Delta Kilo, it's Kilo, not Lima, Kilo, over Delta Kilo, Golf, Mike.
Air Canada 015, affirmative, Delta, Kilo, Golf, Mike.
Negative cell call for Air Canada 015.
Air Canada 015, Roger, negative full call, next report position Ravul, and try check full call later.
Okay, check. Well, next report
landing point at Ravul, and we'll trolley the stall call a little later. Thank you.
So we're down there to 10,100 meters. So we'll check on the map. Russia 10-1. That's 331. 331 is set, and we'll climb to 331, which is 10,100 meters.
Control United Canada 015 is by Uniform Hotel, 11,100 meters. Control Air Canada 015.
Ulaanbaatar 68949, position Bulak, maintaining flight level 10,600 meters.
68949, contact Moran Control 128.0.
128.0, Moran Control.
Control Air Canada 015 is by Uniform Motel, 11,100 meters.
Canada 015, contact Moran Control 126.5.
Shad Control 126.5, Air Canada 015, so long. Shad Control, good morning, Air Canada 015, 11,100 meters.
Air Canada 015, report estimates modem and Polto.
Roger, Air Canada 015, estimating modem time 0141, Polo 0154, over.
Air Canada 015, maintain flight to 11,100 meters, report modem.
We'll report modem, Air Canada 015.
Right here.
Well, good morning, everybody. We're just traveling through Mongolia right now. We crossed the border from Russia at the waypoint Sirna, and we went by Ulaanbaatar, and now we are heading towards a waypoint called Polho, which is the border of China and Mongolia. And we'll be talking to Beijing airspace. We'll be in Beijing airspace. We'll be talking to Beijing control. Okay, so now we've been in the air for just over 11 hours, and we have burned just over 92 tons of fuel so far, and we have 31 tons and a half left in our tanks for the remainder of the flight to Hong Kong.
Because of all the crashes, the Toronto one and the big ones in the Atlantic. Big one in the Atlantic.
Air Canada 015, maintain flight to 11,100 meters, report Polto.
Roger, Air Canada 015, we'll call you Polo.
So we're just crossed into China, so we're about to check in with Beijing control.
Beijing control, hello, it's Air Canada 015,
Beijing Control, hello, it's Air Canada 015, maintaining 1,100 meters.
Air Canada 015, radio, squawk 0042.
Roger, 0042, Air Canada 015.
Offset 3 mile right over track. Romeo side, 3 mile Romeo side, Asiana 580. Departure outside 10 miles, right of track. Offset 10 mile, 10 mile right over track, Asiana 580. Climb until 11,300 meters. Climb 1,300 meters, Asiana 580. November Coast Bravo 8862, climb until 10,600 meters. November Coast Bravo 8862, Beijing. November Coast Bravo 8862, compared Beijing. November Coast Bravo 8862, climb until 10,600 meters. Okay, climb and maintain,
Beijing, hello, Air Canada 015, 1,300 meters.
Air Canada 015, Beijing, climb until 1,600 meters.
Roger, Air Canada 015, clear to climb and maintain 1,600 meters.
Air Canada 015, Canada Beijing 124.55. Good day.
Roger that, Air Canada 015, switching 124.55. So on.
Bye.
Affirmative, 11,900 meters.
国航4112上到112栋保持。
上112栋，国航4112。
Beijing, hello, it's Air Canada 015, 1,600 meters.
Air Canada 015, full maintain 1,600 meters.
Roger, clear to maintain 1,600 meters, Air Canada 015.
Okay, so as we're flying along, we've got our flight plan, and we're approaching a waypoint, and for flight planning purposes, we take our time over the waypoint, our estimated time, and our real time, and we compare it to see if we're remaining on schedule or not. Do you have anything like to add to that, Francois? Okay, and then we take a look at the winds, the forecast winds, and the actual winds, and we take a look at our wind component from that, and we would like to see that the forecasts are fairly accurate. And then we record our fuel, our actual fuel on board compared to the estimate on board, and we usually have a little bit extra, and that's always good. Okay, so our last waypoint, as we went by Tango Zulu Hotel, actually we were 2 minutes late. We arrived at 28 minutes after the hour, and our estimate was 26. And the wind was pretty much as forecasted. It's within 10 knots and 10 degrees. It was fairly good. And our fuel on board, we had 26.1, and the minimum for en route for the flight was 22. So we were up 4.1 tons on our fuel.
My name is Francois Champagne. I learned to fly in a Quebec college, that's Chicoutimi College, and I ended my flying courses in '92, and I started as a bush pilot, flying float planes for 2 summers. Between these 2 summers, I took my IFR licenses and twin engine ratings, and I started to fly for a small company on the St. Lawrence North Shore. So there I flew the Navajo and then Jetstream 31 before being hired with Air Inuit, where I flew the Twin Otter and the 748. After that, I flew for Transat for 2 years on the Boeing 757 before being hired with Air Canada, where I flew the RJ, then the Airbus 330 and 340 as a relief pilot. Then I flew the Embraer as a captain for 2 years, the Boeing 767 as a first officer for 2 years,
and now it's been 2 years I'm relief pilot on the Boeing 777. Okay, for traffic separation in China, they often clear us to track a couple miles off our route. So right now we've been cleared to track 3 miles right of our track, so that's what we're doing right now. We're just leaving our flight plan route to go track 3 miles to the right. Yeah, it's called an offset. And fortunately, we have an easy way to do this through our flight computer here. We just have to go on the on our route page up here and just enter the number of miles we want to offset to the right or to the left. In this case, right 3 miles, and then the autopilot takes us exactly there. Control Delaware Canada 015, level at 11,600 meters.
Air Canada 015, confirm position oblique.
Air Canada 015, we're tracking at 3 miles right of course, abeam oblique at this time.
Air Canada 015, control radar contact. Air Canada 015, offset 5 miles right of track.
Offset 5 mile right of track, Air Canada 015.
Guangzhou, g'day, it's Air Canada 015. We are 1,600 meters.
Air Canada 015, good afternoon, control radar contact.
And what type of speed would you like for Air Canada 015? We're doing Mach decimal 85. Our normal speed is Mach decimal 83.
Air Canada 015, roger, I'll keep high speed.
Okay, roger that. High speed, Air Canada 015. Okay, so I'll just start with the pre-descent planning here, Ron, and just keep checking that guy. I'm going to check our landing flap. They've got flap 30, 136, that looks good. Departure arrival. Planning ILS 7 left with the Sierra 5 Charlie selected. So going into the charts for Hong Kong, just checking their work that they put in, Sierra 5 Charlie. Just give you a briefing here, Ron. 10-2 uniform, 8th of July, 11. Transition level 120 with 979 hectopascals or below. Transition altitude 9,000 feet. If required, request radar assist to fall correct track. Sierra 5 Charlie for runway 7 left. Speed max 250, below 10,000 unless otherwise assigned. So from Sierra, it's Borda, Roca, Canto, Murray at flight level 130, Silva, Limes. Silva, Limes, that's all in there. Descent requirement, cross Murray at flight level 130. Holding is established over Canto. In the event of a holding, each flight will be instructed individually. Do not descend without ATC clearance. Under turbulent conditions, when approved by ATC, 280 knots or Mach 0.80, whichever is less. So the Sierra 5 Charlie, as I just said, to Borda, turn left to Roca, then to Canto, then via Murray to Silva, then left to Limes. Expect ILS approach, descend as directed by ATC. So if they shorten it up, that's not a problem. Okay, then we'll transition vectors over to the ILS runway. 7 left. So let me cycle the view here. ILS runway 7 left. Stand by. Chart date 8th of April 11. Localizer 111-1, final approach course 073, 1290 at the 4DME fix. Decision altitude 222 feet set on the radio altimeter. Monitor announce approaching minimums and minimums. I'll call landing or go around flap 20. Missed approach, climb to 5,000 feet. On the ILS, climb straight ahead to 300 feet. Turn left onto 058 degrees and intercept the 36 degree radial of SMT to Lingai, then turn right onto the 76 degree radial of LKC. When crossing the 333 degree radial of TD, proceed on 110 degree heading to Sampu and expect radar vectors. Max 230 knots, do not turn before 0.2 of IZSL. MSA over the CHVOR within Hong Kong, 4,300 feet in the northern quadrant. Transition level, as we discussed, 110 at 980.
Monitor announce approaching minimums.
Thank you. We go down here and minimum is 200 feet and 1,200 meters. So here's the Hong Kong map of the airport. We're going to be landing on 7 lefts. Probably clearing around a taxiway down here, coming around to this spot, parking somewhere in the south wing of the passenger terminal.
Air Canada 015, Falcon Hong Kong 127.55, good day.
12755, Air Canada 015, good day.
Dragon 651, descend to flight level 130.
Descend flight 130, Dragon 651.
Air Canada 015, we're leaving 210 for 190.
Air Canada 015 for sequencing, reduce speed to 250 knots.
Speed 250 knots, Air Canada 015.
Saudi 962, contact approach 119.1, good day.
191, shutdown 962.
Air Canada 015, descend to flight level 130.
Descend flight level 130, Air Canada 015.
Dragon 651, reach flight level 130 by Murray.
130 set, thrust flight level change speed.
5 Charlie arrival, information Delta.
Sure, 5 Charlie arrival at the Delta, Cafe 640.
Air Canada 015, reduce speed to 230 knots, turn left heading 180.
Speed 230.
Speed 230 knots, left heading 180, Air Canada 015.
230 knots selected and left to 180.
Canada 015, turn left, direct to Murray.
Left direct Murray, Air Canada 015.
Delaying action, continue present heading followed by.
Present heading, Canada 642.
Roger, Canada 015, level 130.
Air Canada 015, roger. Expect runway 07 left.
Canada 015, 07 left.
Boeing 795, any chance for a direct to CQG weather?
Air Canada 015, descend to 9,000 feet. QNH now 1009, new 8 is coming up.
9,000 feet, 1009, Air Canada 015.
9,000 set, thrust, flight level change speed.
Roger, 9,000.
Canada 015, continue present heading.
Present heading, Air Canada 015.
Very nice, 635, turn right, heading 50.
Right 350 degrees, Brunei 635.
On upon 909, turn left heading 230. Canada 015, speed 230 knots, descend to 8,000 feet.
We are 230 knots, 8,000 feet, Air Canada 015.
Yes.
10 for 8,000 feet, which is set.
Roger. Is set.
Read, set.
Altimeter is 1009 hectopascals, 3 times. In-range check was complete.
Thank you.
Air Canada 015, turn left heading 350.
Left heading 350, Air Canada 015.
Cathay 725, climbing altitude 7,000.
Cathay 725, roger.
9 for 8,000.
On upon 175, heading 250, track adjustment.
Left down heading 250 on upon 175.
Canada 015, continue left turn heading 280.
Left turn heading 280, Air Canada 015.
Approach Cathay 543, flight number 110, information echo.
Cathay 543, maintain, expect runway 07 left.
Expect runway 07 left, maintain 110, Cathay 543.
Cathay 725, climb to 9,000 feet.
Climb altitude 9,000 feet, Cathay 725.
Speed hold.
Air Canada 015, descend to 4,000 feet.
Descend to 4,000 feet, Air Canada 015.
On upon 175.
4,000 feet set, thrust, flight level change speed.
1195 on upon 175, good day.
Canada 015, contact director 1195.
1195, Air Canada 015, good day.
Cathay.
Director Air Canada 015.
On upon 909, turn right heading 040 to intercept the localized clear for ILS approach on way 07 left.
040, clear for ILS 07 left, hold up on 09.
Air Canada 015, turn right heading 330.
Right heading 330, Air Canada 015.
635, you're 4 miles behind medium, we do speed now to 140 knots.
140 knots,
Extend center out and fix.
On upon 175, we do speed to 160 knots.
Just 160 on upon 175.
635, do you have preceding traffic inside?
That's correct.
A-firm, Brunei 635.
635, Roger, confirm you're happy to continue approach.
A-firm, Brunei 635.
Roger, continue approach on way 07 left.
Continue approach, Brunei 635. Over 909, 7 localized 07 left.
Brunei 635, reduce to your minimum approach speed.
Reducing now, Brunei 635.
On upon 175, turn left heading 320. Canada 015, heading 340, reduce speed to 180 knots.
Heading 340, speed 180, Air Canada 015.
Upon 175, descend to 1,500 feet.
Flaps 1.
1,500, horn upon 175.
On upon 909, what is
5,
your minimum
4,000.
approach speed?
Plan 09, minimum speed 137.
On the 4909, Roger, reduce to your minimum approach speed.
Due to the minimum approach speed on the Plan 09.
On the 175, turn right heading 040 to intercept the localizer, clear for ILS approach runway 07 left.
Heading right down, 040, clear the ILS approach runway 07 left on the 175.
On the 4909, you are 4 miles behind the 777, contact tower north formally decimal 2.
That's all up and 09.
Air Canada 015, reduce speed to 160 knots, descend to 2,000 feet.
160 knots, 2,000 feet, Air Canada 015.
160 on the speed, 2,000 feet set. Flaps 15.
Air Canada 015, request a spot wind.
095 at 22, Air Canada 015.
Air Canada 015, Roger, speed 160 knots, turn right heading 040 to intercept the localizer, clear for ILS approach runway 07 left.
160 knots, 040, intercept the localizer, clear the ILS 07 left, Air Canada 015.
040 set, localize slope per arm.
Cathay 642, reduce speed to 180 knots.
Reduce 180 knots, Cathay 642.
On the 175, maintain speed 160 knots until 40 ME. Contact tower north on 118 decimal 2.
160 knots, still 40 ME, 112 on the 175 today.
Bye. Cathay 642, descend to 2,000 feet.
Send altitude 2,000, Cathay 642.
Air Canada 015, contact tower north formally decimal 2.
18.2, Air Canada 015.
Glide slope. 5,000 set for the mist.
Tower Canada 015, ILS 07 left.
Air Canada 015, down north, continue approach.
Canada 015.
Continuing. Flaps 20. Gear down, landing checklist. Land 3.
Cabin's alerted. Flaps to go.
Flaps 25.
Order for 175, take Alpha 7.
Roger, then turn left on Alpha.
That's down on Alpha.
Flaps 30.
Alpha 7, order for 175.
Flaps 30, VRF 136.
Air Canada 015, wind 100 degrees, 15 knots, 07 left, clear to land.
Good land 07 left, Air Canada 015.
VRF 136, target 141, he's clear of the runway.
Landing checklist complete.
Thank you, autopilot's coming
Ground
out.
north, 116, order for 175.
Flight director.
500. Approaching minimums. Minimums.
Runway in sight. Landing.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20.
10 off today, Cathay 642, 5 miles ILS runway 07 left.
Speed works up.
Cathay 642, down north, afternoon, continue approach.
Continue, Cathay 642.
Manual braking.
Air
Canada 015 Alpha 7, then Victor, Old Short Hotel.
Alpha 7 Victor, short of hotel, Air Canada 015.
Victor, short hotel.
Get
a right turn here.
42, wind 090 degrees, 15 knots, 7 left, clear to land.
Flaps 30.
Approaching minimums.
Roger.
Minimums.
Landing. Landing.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Over there. Alright, thank you. Says 777.
Once we came in over Macau, basically we were on radar vectors due to a volume of traffic. Weather was absolutely beautiful here for Hong Kong, some thunderstorms down in the south. So vectors coming in, this is usually what we could expect for arrival delays. It wasn't too much. Landing 7 left, a little hazy. Temperature's very warm here today, 34 degrees. So it's now about 1:30 in the morning for us. Toronto time. We checked in at about 7:30, I guess, and we're going to pack up. Off we go to the hotel and get some rest and get ready for 016 on the return. Just planes. Talk to you soon.
Hello, my name's Jim McEwen. I'm a flight dispatcher with Air Canada, based in our SOC Center, System Operations Control Center in Toronto. We start our shifts at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm working in an area called Desk 1, which is does the polar flying. We have 4 flights a day from Toronto that are basically we call polar flights, and we'll be showing how we start and initiate our flight 15 from Toronto to Hong Kong. Dispatcher comes in work at 6:30 in the morning, as said before, and it's a pretty hectic time initially to start because he has to set up his workload, his screens that he'll be using, and any of his systems. And like I say, it takes about 20 minutes to do that, and then we have to start planning on flight 15 to Hong Kong, which departs about 3 hours after you start. We have to look at the aircraft that we're using, the MELs, and the minimum equipment list on it, which may affect the performance of the aircraft. We have to look at the departure, weather conditions, runway. We have to look at the arrival conditions for Hong Kong, choose a suitable alternate for Hong Kong, and the big thing is with the polar flights is en route ETOPS alternates. Just to give you an idea what we do, we first of all sit down, click on our flight, and let it run a minimum fuel track and a minimum cost track. This could take a little while because the system has to look at a lot of different parameters that it uses. So we go into the planning system of the flight that we're going to be involved with, and here we start initializing it where it starts looking at the destination alternates. The destination itself, the weather, we can actually use switch runways. We can actually optimize the runways in use for the departure, for the arrival, and even for the alternate airports. Lido flight planning system chooses 4 alternates initially. We basically use 1 or 2, normally 1. After we look at the weather for our alternate airports, we can change that. And I'm just going to use the closest ones that are available based on hopefully that all the weather is good, but in real life we would check the weather for the destination and the alternate. So we're departing Toronto off of runway 5, arriving in Hong Kong on runway 7 right with Macau as an alternate, and we're using runway 16 for the approach in Macau. We can change this if we needed to for the wind and for whatever the alternate limits are for that runway. That's another thing we have to look at, the alternate limits for that runway. Aircraft MELs, deviations. We have, as you can see on this flight, we have 4. We have a book, an MEL frame, which looks at the maintenance conditions for that and any penalties. And as you can see on here, one of them requires a fuel penalty, which we have to work out. Then we have our ETOPS frame, which is the big one for the polar flights, and which is the one that initially creates a lot of problems for us. I'll let Lido, it goes through, looks at adequate airports we have initially to start with. It will run a frame to look at the limits, any closures, etc. for these adequate airports. As you can see on the right hand side, some of them have changed to red. For instance, saying Hamilton here, saying the runway 30 is unsuitable because of a wind. We can also change this if we needed to. We can go in for the performance, change the temperatures, the pressure, and depending on any MEL items, we can actually change the aircraft's maximum takeoff weight. And on this flight here, there are some maintenance ones which I believe may affect the takeoff weight. We would then, after we've filled in the basics, as we say, and we've chosen our alternate, we've chosen the runways that we can use for takeoff and arrival, we insert this into a scenario, into our analysis scenario, and we run our 2 main scenarios, minimum fuel track and a minimum cost track. Now, because it's got quite a bit of scenarios to look at here with ETOPS alternates, various winds from Toronto to Hong Kong, which is basically a 14 to 15 hour flight, it could take a little bit of time running each scenario, the minimum fuel track, the minimum cost track. In the meantime, in that, we've looked at our weather systems on the other page while the machine is calculating. See, just to verify our weather in Hong Kong, The flight is scheduled to get into Hong Kong around 1700 Zulu tomorrow. And basically tomorrow we're looking at not too bad of a day. Maybe a shower is showing from tonight from 18 Zulu till the 24 Zulu on the 8th. Basically light winds from the east at 10 knots, 9,000 meters, a few clouds at 2,500 feet. However, pretty hot and muggy, a high of 33 degrees. And with this, it should be picking runway 7 right for the arrival, which actually Lido has done. The alternate Macau from 18 to 24-hour period is light winds, 7,000 meters, and a few scattered clouds. And there's some rain showers overnight right now, and so also some rain showers for the arrival period for the alternate Macau. As you can see, the Lido flight planning system is still running the minimum tracks. Right now it's run the minimum fuel track, and it's still calculating the minimum cost track. This involves the price, and it's just done it, as you can see. This involves the price of fuel, overflight cost for the individual flight information regions. And just to give you an idea, the minimum fuel track, it's showing a burn time of 14 hours and 50 minutes. The minimum cost track is showing a burn time of 15 hours and 24 minutes. However, the costs, and this gives you the cost of the fuel and the overflights, the minimum fuel is $128,965, and it's saying the minimum cost here is $130,641, which is, in the real world, is a bit reversed. It's supposed to be minimum cost, but because of individual NOTAMs, notices to airmen en route, it could be affecting the routing that Lido's chosen for the costs. But I'll give you an idea of the breakdown. Go into a cost panel, and it shows you all the air traffic control charges that Air Canada would be paying if it happened to fly this individual route here. These are in Canadian dollars over on the far right side, but it shows you the individual flight information region costs, and some of them get pretty expensive. And the total air traffic control charges for this flight on this route would be $6,287.32. And if you subtracted that from this $130,600, the remainder of, let's say, about $123,000 would be going all to fuel, which is you can see why it's such a high cost to the airlines. If we switch over to the right here, it shows you we'll be show you a map that we use, which can give you a good idea of the routings. I've got it set up for North America to Asia. These lines that you see all over them, there are some airways that we have fixed on the North Pacific that I put in. Each individual dispatcher can build this to his own preference. These are tracks that are like the North Atlantic tracks that are built by either Oakland or Tokyo Center for flights eastbound and westbound in it. You can see some colored reds and oranges. That's some clouds and weather that over here we're looking over Russia, down through China area. We can actually zoom in here if we wanted to look closer at certain areas. And as you can see here, where I'm be pointing, our destination is here, Hong Kong. The alternate is just to the west, southwest. Macau is just across the straits, not far at all to go. And you can see some weather en route. That we can change for the settings of altitude, what we're looking at. I have it set for 30,000 feet, showing 30,000 foot tops. However, we can change it to, I'm going to just change it to 38,000 feet, see if it shows any other images. And as you can see, there's still some pretty high cloud tops, etc. there. As a matter of fact, when I key on the area, it's showing weather 46 to less than 48,000 feet. So there's some pretty significant weather in that area over China. I'll zoom it back to the original image. You can see, actually, because I've gone 38,000 feet, a lot of the weather has actually shows has disappeared. But a lot of the times the aircraft are lower, so I like to show as much weather on as I can. So I normally use a general idea of weather of 32 to 34,000 feet. If I leave it at 32, I know there's weather, especially if they're flying through and subject to ATC down there. There's so many rules going through Russia and Chinese airspace. Chinese airspace is all military controlled. airspace, and they're very strict on it. And they can start descents very low, very far out from the destination airport. So I like to see what kind of weather's en route there. But so that gives you an idea of the map sort of that we can look at. We can do it for basically almost anywhere in the world. So we've had a little look at the sort of a map of the world for our route. We'll go back to the Lido flight planning system, to the flight plan. We'll have a look at what the routes the computer has picked. We'll look at the minimum fuel route first of all, which is the one that gets you at destination basically on schedule. Mind you, we have to do a lot of tweaking, building specific routes over Russian and Chinese airspace. But this is a bit of a convoluted map showing you basically the minimum fuel track of the route of the aircraft. All these arcs that you're seeing on here, these smaller arcs, these green arcs, they're 60-minute airports, ETOPS airports. They're adequate airports. These pink or magenta arcs are from each of those 60-minute airports, and as you can see, there's many of them around, spread all around. These are the 180-minute circles from that certain airport. Like I said, it's a bit of convoluted right now because everything is jammed together. But we'll see when we'll try and smooth that out a bit better, and you can get an idea of it better on it. That's the minimum fuel track. All I'll do is I'll close that, and I'll click on the minimum cost track. I'll go back to the map and display the route. You can see the minimum cost track. Now the minimum cost track is this track here, this blue track here. You can see there's a significant difference in the routings on it. Minimum cost track, the most expensive areas to fly are basically through Russian and Chinese airspace. This minimum cost track, you can see it's basically kept it within, it's a bit difficult to show right now, within Canadian, American airspace and into Japanese airspace. You can zoom in on this a little bit. There you go, and it's showing it actually up right now. Now you can actually see it a bit better. You've got Alaska here, the Kamchatka Peninsula, the Japanese islands here, Korea's over here. You can actually see these 60-minute circles a bit more defined now for each station. For instance, where the cursor's pointed, this is Khabarovsk for, Petropavlovsk for Kamchatka Peninsula, Russia. There's the green 60-minute arc, adequate airport arc for it. And like I say, these pink ones are 180-minute arcs. Now the reason this one you can't see one, the station is shown in green. You'll notice these other ones are shown in the magenta or pink. That's because the magenta pink ones are also showing the 60-minute arc here, and there's also a 180-minute arc associated. I can myself, just by working with it, know that this is the arc here. 180 minutes once the aircraft enters this arc, it's 180 minutes from this arc in still air to the destination airport, or the ETOPS alternate airport. It hasn't picked these stations in the green here simply because it could be something like the weather, winds, or the approach facilities. They don't meet the limits that are required for ETOPS. So anyway, that gives an idea of the route. I'll go back. And what we would do now that we've ran these, normally if we're ahead of schedule or on schedule, we would look at the time versus the cost. And I'm looking at this right now, these two here, the minimum fuel, the minimum cost. The minimum fuel is showing basically arriving at 1714. The schedule is 1715, so we're basically on schedule. Here's the cost. The minimum cost track is actually showing us getting there behind schedule at 1748 versus 1758, so about 35 minutes or so late. Plus it's costing us a couple of $1,000s more. So I wouldn't, to be quite honest with you, I don't think I'd really be looking at going this way at all. So what we have to do is build a route that complies to the various ATC restrictions or any en route NOTAMs and restrictions going down into Hong Kong, etc. So we would do that by clicking on the flight. We go into another frame called route definitions, where we can actually freefold build the destinations, change the flight levels, change the speeds. Here the Mach speed numbers, true air speeds, excuse me, of the flight. As we're flying from Toronto to Hong Kong, depending on the route, and if we scan back to the the large map over here. As we're flying from Toronto over here, down in this area here, all the way over to Hong Kong, and we're flying through Canadian and American airspace, we can fly basically minimum track unless there's NOTAMs. Again, noticed airmen saying that we must comply with certain routes subject to ATC or weather conditions. We can basically minimum track it straight across through Canada, up over Alaska, and then down these what are called NOPAC tracks, North Pacific tracks. These are fixed tracks. 2 of them go westbound and 3 of them go eastbound only. And that's the basically the ones we use, and I think that's what we're probably looking at today. So we'll go back to the route. And it looks like, actually, I'm just looking at this one here. It's actually going to the west. This is going to take us to the. This one's actually taking us to one of the final polar fixes on it. So we'll just have a look at the map again. I'll close that. Here it is here. So we'll zoom. We can actually zoom in on here. Here's the North Pole, the polar fix. This is the waypoint Pyrel, which is the start of the fix into Russian airspace. And there are various fixes to the west of the pole, and like I say, to the east. There's 2 more to the east of us here, but we're actually going to be using the most easterly one today by the looks of it. So what we have to do, we can free flow, we can random track, as you see the route here, from Toronto to this waypoint Pyrel. However, we must comply with fixed routes that Air Canada has, that we've got flight permission for each flight with, from Pyrel on down to the destination Hong Kong. And there's individual routes between Pyrel through Russian airspace into the Chinese airspace, and then from China, which starts here at this waypoint Cerna. Again, I'm only saying that because I recognize the spot, and then from Cerna on into Hong Kong. So what I would do with that is, we've got our route basically from Toronto, as you can see, over Midland, Muskoka, on its way down, all these various waypoints, the flight levels, and actually and the speeds, true airspeed, indicated airspeeds, and Mach speed numbers. And we also operate via, it's a bit hard to explain, an item called a cost index, which is very, what the airlines are using a lot here. The lower the cost index, normally the less money involved in flying, but then again, that depends if the aircraft is on schedule, arriving at its destination or not. That's a variable thing we can play with. So to build the route, I'll go down to that waypoint Pyrel, which is the start of the polar routes. We have charts and books all made up that we know exactly what routes we are required to fly. But again, this is one of the ones I recognize for us. So basically what I look for is these are country codes all the way down here. U is the Russian country code, start of the Russian codes, and then when you enter the Chinese airspace, it starts with a country code of Z, Zulu. So basically, I would go down and remove each line here.
Got another one here, back up.
Until, as you can see, I'm coming down to a waypoint, a country code Zulu Mike, and that is the start of the Chinese airspace. So I know basically I've got and the start of the Chinese fix is actually the waypoint Cerna. It's a bit confusing. It actually, the Russian point ends Cerna, the Chinese point starts at Cerna. So it's actually showing U, which is a Russian code, but it's also the Russian, the Chinese designated area. So we're at Cerna. It's fairly simple. I would remove everything else easily doing it this way. I go to another trigger here, list of routes from Cerna to the destination Hong Kong, select, and it only comes up with one route on this one because it's not too often that we're that far east. This is a pre-built route, pre-approved route that Air Canada has authority to fly on, and we can actually even open that route up and see the airways that it flies and the waypoints along that airway. to its destination. It's also broken down, it breaks down the mileage between these points all the way down here. Until you get into Hong Kong with the STAR, the arrival procedure that the crew would actually punch into their flight management system. So I would append this onto the flight plan. And basically what I do is I remove all the flight levels. I change the speeds again to let it, because I'm picking a new route. Certain points along their route might be different wind-wise. They might want to look at different flight levels, therefore different speeds. So I change that. And when you go from North America into Russian airspace, it changes to metric altitudes from feet. I'll remove that. And I'll let it calculate itself again. Now the route from Toronto to Pyrel is exactly the same. I've appended the route from Pyrel to Cerna, and then Cerna to Hong Kong. Okay, so it has built the route. And if we can compare them, you can actually see, by the looks of it, they're almost exactly the same. The minimum fuel track that Lido built looks like it's exactly the same as the approved routes that we have. And one of the ways you can quickly tell that is just down here you can see a distance frame. Here it's 7,338 nautical miles. The route I've just built, which is highlighted in the blue, is the same, 7,338 nautical miles. We can actually, another way to verify that is to append the minimum fuel track. We have to close it again to bring up the new one. To click on the one we just ran. Append that. It's highlighted in blue. You can't even see the black. So basically the route we've done is built right over top of the minimum fuel track. So it looks like there was no changes. I'll zoom in here a bit in certain areas. Now along the route here you can see all this massive circles. There's some dots. You can see some red, orange, red. These are the ETOPS points, entry points, exit points. ETOPS has looked at decompression, engine out procedures, a mix of decompression, engine out. And the worst case scenario, if anything ever happened to an airplane, is if it has a decompression, it has to descend to 10,000 feet and then carry on to one of its designated ETOPS alternates that we have chosen, and that has the mandatory fuel on it. Well, we haven't really looked at our ETOPS stations yet. We've just let Lido run its own thing. So let's see what Lido has actually picked for ETOPS. So if I click on this recheck button, you can see there's 3 airports highlighted in dark green. These are the suitable airports for Lido. It's picked Thule in Greenland, Longyear on the island of Svalbard, and it's picked, I'm not quite used to 100%, but a lot of these Russian names here, so I'll just have to go over here and quickly see what they call it. I can't even pronounce it, to be honest with you. Novosibirsk, one of the Russian airports. Now you can see while we've got this one up here, it's showing the weather for that airport. These are the weather as it's indicated at this time, as of on the 7th at 2000 Zulu. The weather's looking excellent. Kavok, which is greater than 10 kilometers visibility. Variable winds are 1 meter per second, so basically we double that to about 2 kilometers per hour. A temperature of +3, a dew point of +2, and the station pressure. There's no significant changes or weather in the area expected. However, when we go down to the forecast period for here, which is based on a 4-hour period from the 7th at 21 Zulu or 21 Greenwich to the 8th at 21 Greenwich, we're looking at variable winds at 2 meters per second, 2,000 meters in mist, broken at 500 feet ceilings, and temporarily between 21 Zulu, which is basically coming up in 40 minutes from now, till 3 Zulu, it goes down in fog to 300 meters in fog, scattered at 200 broken, and then from 3 Zulu on, the winds increase 040 meters per second to 13 meters per second, 10 kilometers, excellent visibility, with broken 2,000 some CB activity in the area. So what we have to do is actually look at the time frame we're going to arrive here, and hopefully not in this period right here where the fog is. Hopefully it's after that period, which is from 3 Zulu on, the good visibility, that we can use this airport. The cruise flight plan for this to Hong Kong, with all the NOTAMs and all the weather, maps, they get those maps, they get the maps with the routes on board, any turbulence. There's going to be about 30 to 40 pages. It's like a mini encyclopedia for them. There's a lot of paper work involved. And that's about it so far at this time for the flights going to Hong Kong for the flight plan. If I was happy with this flight plan, I can go in and file it and send it with air traffic control. But one of the other big things we have to do before I can do this, we have to go into a site and deal with the HF radio communications. If it's what it's good like, that all depends on a lot of propagation for the sun. We have to look at a solar weather. We have a little link that we go into, and I'll go into that quickly here to show you what we look at quickly. This is our home page with numerous bits of information that we can click on to help us see anything. As you can see, it's showing all sorts of information: Atlantic, Caribbean, South America. It's got everything in here, extra flying, Jepson links. We've got everything in this here. It's the source of everything. Polar, we're going polar. I would click on this polar link here. Space weather is what we call it. Government geomagnetic forecasts, etc. for HF. We used to be able to pop right on this page here, but they've changed it, and it takes us to another home site. And as you can see, polar weather, and also helps us with the HF. It's basically on the quiet side. There's nothing polar, solar weather actually going on at all with that. It would come in quiet, poor. I've never seen it, quite honestly, any worse than poor. That could affect HF communications or satellite. We would click on space weather here, and we would look at here these scales. As you can, this is an image of the sun, the halo of the sun, and as it says, the solar X-ray of it. We basically look at the scale over here. This is any activity in the past 24 hours and what's currently going on. And as you can see, geomagnetic storms. There's been nothing going on. Now if I click on the geomagnetic storms here, it gives us a breakdown of what they are. And as you can see, they're broken down into scales, G5 through G1. The G1 is minor, which it tells you exactly what it could affect on it, to G5, which is extreme, which we have on our flight planning site, when we can fly, when we cannot fly through these areas. And as you can see, as you go to solar radiation storms, there's been none in the past 24 hours, none forecast, but radio blackouts, you can see there's a code here in the past 24 hours, R3. If I click on this, R1, R2, R3, you can see strong. Basically it says HF radio, wide area blackouts of HF radio communications, loss of radio contact for about an hour on the sunlit side of Earth. Navigation, low frequency navigation signals degraded for about an hour. So there's been a little bit of activity going on with the some solar weather, and this would give us an idea what it is. And how strong, severe it is, whether we fly through that area, whether we fly polar. If this was affecting our HF enough, we would, we're basically flying right over the pole right now. With this R3, we would probably look at either flying further west, or west and even lower. We've got certain conditions built in, certain charts that we look at that could restrict our flight level, or which waypoints on the polar fixes we could fly, depending on the current activity which is going on in here, and more so on the current end. So this is the big one we look at, current. The other thing is we'll want to have a look at is what the forecast is going to be. We go to the 3-day little write-up on the 3-day solar weather, and it gives us an idea of what's maybe going to be going on for the next few days. And this one here says solar activity is expected to be moderate during the period of today through the 9th. So there could be some HF activity going on, which is actually what you saw there on that R3, with some of these solar flares that might be going on. But like I say, there's nothing planned, nothing current right now, but we have had it in the past 24 hours, so there is a chance of some activity going on. So we would have to look closely at this to see which way our flight's going to go. We may have to take it further to the west, away from directly over the pole, because these routes are basically almost right over the pole, Pyrel to Berry. So that's one of the big things that we look at. I hope that's helped you. This or given information for one of these polar flight plans. This has only been a very minuscule idea of what we actually look at with the NOTAMs, the flight time, the solar weather, the upper air temperatures, especially in the winter where they get cold, gets really cold, and we have to watch the aircraft fuel freeze. There's analysis we can do on that. There's many things. So by the time we sign into our workload at 6:30 in the morning, by the time we've got all the programs that we're looking at that we need, the en route maps, the SIG weather charts, the forecasted surface analysis charts for your stations along the route and the arrival station for Hong Kong, etc. There's many things to look at en route weather. Like I said, we start at 6:30. It takes an average of 20 minutes for us to load our system, and then by the time we actually start building that flight plan, that's going to take at least a minimum half an hour to 40 minutes before the dispatcher is normally happy with what he's got and double-checked everything. If there's any problems with the en route weather, i.e. ETOPS alternates, especially in the winter in Siberia, lots of snow. Right now it's fog. It could even further exasperate you building the flight plan. The crews normally show up an hour and a half or so before departure, and lots of times it's about 2 to an hour and a half before departure that the flight plan would be released for the crews to pick up. Like I say, it's a really busy time, and then we have the other 3 polar flight plans to do right after that. So I hope the information's helped you out somewhat. It's quite an experience building one of these flight plans. We're here to help the crews as much as we can. And the crews, actually, it's amazing how much the crews rely on the dispatchers for information for not only the polar flight plans, but any other flight plans. But it's a real pleasure to be doing this sort of work and how important it is. And like I say again, I hope it's helped, and thank you and good flying.